The Joe Rogan Experience.
There's a real concern among some people that we're entering a phase of this country where there's a real possibility of having some sort of a civil unrest, civil war. When you see something like these Portland events, when you see this kind of chaos, do you think that that's a valid concern?
Not for something that is across the country, but perhaps very regional or to the city itself. And not so much like civil war, but the violence that is done and planned by Antifa is meant to make the wider public not just polarize and hate each other, but also begin to distrust the institutions that are in place that are meant to uphold democracy. So the police in Portland have come under fire, for example, not just from the radical left, but a lot of people who are normally very pro-police are finding like, what is wrong with the Portland police? Like, we can't even trust them. So there's, if things just continue, I think the violence will continue to escalate, leading to a death or deaths. That's my real concern.
It's my real concern as well. And you think this is particularly unique to Portland in the way they're treating and addressing it?
I'm trying to think of comparable other cities that have had some of these issues. So, for example, in San Jose in 2016, Trump supporters, when they were leaving a Trump rally, were brutally assaulted by mobs of people. And then there was a lawsuit that was launched against the city for basically putting citizens in the way of danger. The way they were funneled outside of this event led them directly in front of these violent protesters who attacked them, in those footage that went viral that year. Since then, policing tactics have changed in San Jose, as far as I know, and, involved a lawsuit. So, sometimes it takes lawsuits for the local government to start protecting people's civil rights. So right now, as bad as it is, it does seem confined to Portland. We haven't seen, for example, in Berkeley, the type of violence as in 2017 when Milo came. That hasn't been repeated for a year and a half now. So, but it takes the political will of those in power to enforce the law, right?
So you mentioned lawsuits. What lawsuits are you pursuing?
Well, immediately right now, what I would like to see is the city of Portland carry out a full investigation and hold accountable all those who were involved in attacking me or aided in that as well. And then where the evidence leads, if this shows that there was dereliction of duty from those in power, then, I reserve my judgment, my lawyer reserves judgment for, who, if anyone, gets sued at that point. But right now, I'm very focused on seeing that and putting pressure on the city to arrest people who are responsible and charge them and get convictions as well.
All right. In closing, because I know you got to get out of here, is there a silver lining to any of this? I mean, do you think that perhaps your assault and the fact that the police didn't intervene is actually allowing people to understand the real significance of this, the real problem of this, that this is a real issue, a gigantic one, in fact, that goes against the core tenets, the value of free expression and the ability to gather and communicate safely in public?
Yeah, as hard as it was for me to see a silver lining when I was laying in hospital with so much pain, there is one, and that is that everybody paid attention to what happened to me. It was a big story. Even the mainstream liberal press could not ignore it. And I'm hoping that from that, it goes beyond just being a headline, but forcing the national discourse to change on how it views and talks about Antifa. We'll see if that happens. I feel encouraged that we're beginning to see some cracks in the way that Antifa has been protected by sympathetic writers and journalists and those in mainstream media. I mean, the fact that Keith Ellison deleted that photo that he shared a year ago, right after I was attacked, I think indicates that even he faces a certain pressure that it may not be good for a mainstream politician to so actively promote this movement. And I hope it continues to move in that direction.
If you had a crystal ball and you were looking at the future, what do you think you would see?
Well, based on the press conference that the mayor did 2 days ago, him not having any proposals, it seems like more violence has to happen.